So yes, there are some fantastic seminar speakers coming up later on today, as Nikki just said, and do make sure if you're not following us by now that you are, and you're certainly hashtagging FIREX, hashtag FIREX. Let us know how you're enjoying the show, what you've got out of it so far. If you've had any interesting conversations, I'm just about to have one now with David Crowder from BRE. David, first of all, welcome to the show, and tell us a bit about what BRE is all about.
BRE as an organisation covers a whole range of topics. We cover structural issues and how buildings are put together structurally. We cover environmental aspects and massively increase sustainability across the UK and overseas. And of course we have our presence in the fire industry, and we carry out testing and certification on behalf of product manufacturers, but we also provide consultancy and research services for end-use providers and those, particularly in my field, that are unfortunate enough to be involved in fires.
And what do you personally do at BRE?
So I oversee fire investigation at BRE. We specialise in fire spread, fire development and the performance of buildings and how they respond to those fires when they take place. We carry out investigations on behalf of government, and we try to learn lessons from fires which can be fed back into legislation and guidance, but we also carry out investigations on behalf of insurers, private individuals and fire and rescue services to prosecute and litigate in terms of fire incidents.
Wow, there's quite a responsibility you have. And your background's in forensic science, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So started out as a forensic chemist and very quickly specialised in fire and went to BRE and haven't looked back since.
Wow, just on that subject, because we were talking earlier on to a fireman from the London Fire Service, and we were just talking about what that's like as a career. What about this as a career then? Forensic science and then in the world of fire. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it. There's never a dull moment, and there's... Funnily enough, we've been recruiting for people recently, and they all ask us what a typical week looks like, and we couldn't answer the question because it changes constantly. Every day, every week, every month is a completely different set of challenges. You might be out on site looking at a scene of devastation, you might be in the laboratory doing a reconstruction and trying to learn more about it, or you might be doing a bit of paperwork at the end.
Yeah, or you might be turning up at a show like this and doing a seminar in front of a couple of hundred people.
Absolutely, and that's one of the key parts of what we do, is feeding back to the industry to try and learn lessons and avoid these tragic events from happening again in the future.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about your seminar today, because one of the questions I generally ask anyone that comes into the studio here today are the safety regulations and fire regulations, and how companies, big, small, massive organisations, right down to the smallest shop, are still flouting regulations, and that's kind of the crux of your talk today, isn't it?
Yes. So my talk today is focusing on fires in social housing in particular, as we've had a very much an increase in the profile of fire within the social housing sector. And I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of lessons still there to be learnt. Organisations may or may not flout the regulations. Some of them do their best to try and meet them, but ultimately it's a very complex subject, that of fire, and so there are challenges still to be met in terms of how we implement what seems like a relatively simple set of regulations into the very complex practice of actually applying those regulations and trying to achieve safer buildings for the people that live in them.
Yeah, that's right, because from a private point of view in terms of housing, we all have our budgets each month, we know what's going out, we know what's coming in. Unfortunately, sometimes fire prevention, fire protection is not even on the list, let alone at the bottom of it.
Absolutely. Cost is, as we all know, it's at the top of most people's agenda at the moment. We are having to very much look carefully at our budgets and what we decide to spend money on. I think most of the time people do look at fire, it's not given the top priority in all occasions, and in fairness, we have a very low number of fire deaths that occur in this country, and we're fortunate to have that. But as a result of that, sometimes people take their eye off the ball, and yes, sometimes it does fall completely off the agenda, and it's things that people need to be reminded of on a regular basis. And again, from my point of view, reminding people of the potential consequences through incidents is a good way to achieve that.
Yeah, my last question then, David, is what would you be looking for today as a punter if you turned up at this show? Why is it important to be at FIREX, would you say?
I would say it's the combination of the experts that can give you ideas, can share ideas in terms of how to provide solutions, and actually having the product manufacturers there that you can go and talk to about these potential solutions, way of addressing a particular problem you have at your site or facility, whatever you're responsible for, to then bring those together and ultimately try and produce something that's worthwhile for you as an end user.
Well, thanks, David. What time's your seminar, by the way?
My seminar's at 1:30 this afternoon at the Experts Theatre.
Check that out in the Express Theatre at 1:30. At 1:30 this afternoon. By the way, if you're watching this on the big screens around the room now, this is actually FIREX TV. So if you're at home now, or you're in your office, you could be watching this now on the home page here for the FIREX website. So tell your mates. David, you can tell your mates that you've just been on telly. Tell them to come down here and watch the seminars that are going on throughout the day. Also, do remember it's hashtag FIREX, and also follow us at FIREX, INTL, FIREX International. But for now, that's it from myself and from David here in the FIREX TV studio. Thanks very much.